on, give us some rhythm, y'all.
It's Elma. It's Elma. It's Elma. It's Elma. It's Elma. It's Elma.
You're listening to Radio Peckham Online. This is G-Thang. I'm Elma. Coming up now, well, his name is Tony. He's a performance poet and artist from South London. And this piece is called Oneness.
I worked with a group of 8 boys, ranging from 11 to 13 in age. We were doing art workshops, a place of creativity, the blossoming of beauty, young boys using their times and mind imaginatively. I was blessed to be in such company. They all had open hearts and minds, trying new mediums for the first time. Collards, ceramics and screen printing, painting and drawing, photography and graffiti. I wish that you had been there. There was passion in the air. The place was always bubbling. The place was always jumping. Everyone together and helping one another. Mohammed from Iran had never drawn before because he'd been too busy contending with war. He traced a photo of a car. This he found very hard, pushing and pulling the pencil forwards and backwards, sideways and around. The concentration on his face. He touched me, man. He was shaking up the place. A few days later and another new beginning. Mohammed was screen printing. His first ever drawing was now on a t-shirt he was wearing. The smile on his face warmed and lit up the whole space. You see, a smile is like the rising sun. It appears gradually on the horizon. Just as the lips begin to move, the smile starts spreading across the face, and when it's fully formed, everybody's feeling warmed. Yeah, working with those boys, they took me to a higher place, sharing with me their beauty, sharing with me their grace. Brother, I tell you this, there's nothing more awesome than the human race. There is a downside though. We are the part of nature that makes the biggest mistakes. You see, whilst I was working with the boys, a brother said something to me that left a nasty taste inside my very being. He said, "So you're working with the naughty boys?" I thought, how can someone so beautiful make such an ugly noise? But this was where my brother was at. He was referring to the fact that the boys were in Stamford House. The powers that be have called it a secure children's home, but we all know it's a prison. The boys had all been sentenced for a variety of reasons. Armed robbery, rape and murder were some of the words I heard, and on the outside along the grapevine people were blocking out the sunshine with rumours and mutterings, senseless murmurs and utterings laced with anger and revenge, knee-jerk reactions, opinions formed from the theatre of humiliation that we all call newspapers, magazines and television, spitting out misinformation, creating massive division with their weapons of fear and derision, and the judiciary causes more exclusion. All of this makes more money than I'd care to mention. All this goes against nature's intention, and so does this. Before they'd broken the man-made law, all of the boys had been abused, some sexually and others physically, and all of them mentally. When a child is born, they know no fear. This is natural, and that's why it's so beautiful. But when we find ourselves in unnatural situations, it can bring out in us unnatural reactions. So is being made vulnerable something that should be punishable? I think not, but many find this system agreeable. So now we have two sides, the creation of division. This war is insidious, the battlefield is our consciousness, and the landscape's blighted by ugliness when it should be covered in beauty. This war is being fought on many fronts, race and religion, the feminine and the masculine, physical and mental ability, sexuality and economically, personally and politically, and any signs of individuality. Many are marching in one direction, nobody dares to step out of line, even when they're marching all out of time. You might be listening, but what are you hearing? You might be looking, but what are you seeing? Others meanwhile are living in fairyland, burying their heads in the sand. Some days it's all too much to take in and overstand. Yeah, some days it's all too much. Although on quieter and clearer days I can hear and see a billion smiling Gandhis helping to restore the dream of a life filled with meaning, a deep sense of belonging, the beginning of healing. Peace.
Wow. Cheers, Tony. Blow me away once again. I've heard that one before. It's called Oneness. Can you tell me a bit about that? How did you end up working with young offenders?
I was doing degree course at art college, and it was just part of the course. I decided that I'd go and do some art workshops in a place where art doesn't normally go, you know. Art's quite an exclusive club and not really inclusive, and I just want the art to become more exclusive. I think that we're all artists and we're all poets given the chance. You know, we can all create beauty in our lives and other people's lives if we're given the right situation and the chance, you know.
So did you get good feedback when you went into those guys and did some art with them?
They were beautiful, man. They were beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people.
What sort of stuff did they do? What sort of stuff did you do?
We did screen printing on T-shirts, mosaics, ceramics, painting, drawing, and funnily enough, one of the boys who was 13, he was in for, he got 3 years for graffiti, and we ended up doing graffiti workshops there, you know, so it just shows what the system's like. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. But what age did you start writing?
I think around about 14 or 15 I started first writing, you know.
Yeah, performing.
Yeah.
What about the art? Because you also paint.
I've done that since I can ever remember. I've always loved to draw, paint and so on.
Was there something at the age of 14, besides obviously being a teenager and having angst and hormones, that got you writing?
Yeah, I had the right dog. I was angry, man. I was angry as a teenager, and I'm still angry.
I was going to say, was that a Labrador?
But when you're younger, when you're a teenager, your anger, it's quite hard to direct it in right directions. You know, I got myself in a lot of trouble with the old bill and all that sort of malarkey. You know,
yeah.
But as you get older, you find different ways of channeling it. Like, you know.
Was there somebody who channeled you to write, or did you just do it yourself? Like teachers, or just even inspiration, maybe not teachers?
No, just reading, like, you know, I've always read.
What poets, what writers move you?
Writers, Michael Franti, top man. Bob Marley, who's been with me all my life. And writers, people like Noam Chomsky, Arundhati Roy, Naomi Klein, all those types of people, you know, beautiful people.
Besides the obvious chance to express your emotions and views through writing, what else do you get from performing live, like you've just done?
Conversations I like. I don't particularly enjoy the actual performing or standing up on stages, like, you know. I find stages quite weird places, you know. Stages, I think when we perform, we should perform in circles and someone stands in the middle, like, you know. Stages tends to elevate people, and thus they become something as opposed to being part of a community, you know. I prefer afterwards when people come up and have conversations with me about what it is I'm talking about, because I think conversation's probably about the most important thing that we can do, and it's the highest form of creativity there is, you know.
So it's a way of getting people to talk to you.
Yeah. No, just talk, not necessarily talk to me, but just talk about subjects that I feel need talking about, really, you know.
Is there any subject you wouldn't touch on?
No, there isn't. Funnily enough, I've done some poems, because when I was younger I was sexually abused, and I've done some poetry on that, and I was doing one night someone actually complained about a poem because he found it distasteful that I should talk about things like that, and now I'm more interested in talking about things that people feel uncomfortable about, you know. I don't think we should feel uncomfortable about anything, you know. When I was younger I was quite embarrassed to admit that I've been sexually abused, but now I'm a lot older. No, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's nothing, whatever you've done, whatever, you know.
Well, it's a way of talking about things, talking about subjects as well. It's a way of clearing your head.
Yeah. Whatever it is you've done, we need to talk about it, you know.
Exactly.
Whatever, and there's no, even if you've done so-called wrong or whatever, like, you know, I don't believe that anyone can do wrong. You just find yourself in a situation at a given time, you know. There isn't anyone who can say, I haven't done it.
Well, you know, what do you say about people who come up to you and say, oh, that's disturbed me, I find you shouldn't talk about that? How do you react to that?
But funnily enough, the guy who actually complained to the MC, so he didn't come to me directly, unfortunately, because I would have loved to have a conversation with him about it, like, you know, because it's an interesting subject. But on that subject, like, a lot of people come up to me after I've spoken about it who actually say, as it happens, I'm glad you spoke about that, because
it's happened to them.
Yeah. And the amount of people, absolutely unbelievable.
Well, it's like a taboo subject, and a lot of people don't want to go there. There's a lot of taboo subjects out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Censorship, then,
on that in general, I think we're our own worst self-censors, you know. We don't, the language that we actually use amongst ourselves, we never talk to children, or we never talk, when you hear people talk about the young and people like that, it's always derogatory, like, you know. We never talk about how wonderful, how intelligent, how beautiful young people are, which each and every one of them is. That is never a conversation point. So I think personally we're our own worst we're our own worst censors, you know. We censor ourselves. We allow what comes out of our mouths to come out, like, you know.
Okay, fair enough.
It's Elma. It's Elma. It's Elma. It's Elma. It's Elma. It's Elma.